Well, hello everyone, my name is Zwiggojr and welcome back to another Pokemon ROM hack challenge video. Today we will be playing Pokemon Vegan. Actually, it's Pokemon Vega, but we will be playing as a vegan. So what is a vegan run? At first I didn't even know what I was gonna do when I thought of vegan run. But I decided it's basically edible foods like vegetables and stuff like that, and plants and trees and all the things that vegans really stand for. And with that team, we are going to try and beat this Pokemon ROM hack called Vega. It features a whole new region as well as a bunch of new fakemon that all look very cool. There are also new attacks that aren't in the main games, which I think is a very good addition to the game. You get a whole new team, a whole new set of characters, and it's basically just a great ROM hack. As always, if you want to check out the game, I will leave a link in the description to it, and let's get right into the rules. Rule number 1, I can only use vegan Pokemon in battle. Rule number 2, no items in battle. And rule number 3, I can use a Chem Pokemon. I remind you to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications if you haven't done that already. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into Pokemon Vega as a vegan. So I looked up a vegan name, so what's a typical name that vegans give to their babies? Apparently Basil is one. So my character is called Basil. My rival name is going to be Carney, which is short for carnivore. So we basically hate him. We then go to Professor Holly's lab, and is Holly actually a name of a tree, or did they not follow the professor has to be named after a tree in this game? We also meet up with our rival and Mosmero. Mosmero is basically just a random character that is going to help you out in tough situations, and he's also going to battle you occasionally, and he's also a prankster, so he loves pranking people. They're talking about rangers because our boy Carney over here is actually becoming a Pokemon Ranger. That's an amazing feature about this game as well. There will just be random Pokemon in the way so you can progress, and then a ranger will come along and he will help you capture that Pokemon with his stylus, and then you can progress further. Basically what Carney has to do here, he has to deliver the secure stylus to the Pokemon Ranger base and make sure that it does not fall into the enemy team's hands. The secure stylus is basically an advanced version of the normal stylus, but you can capture legendary Pokemon with it. So we of course don't want the evil team to get their hands on that. I then pick my starter, and I'm going with the grass one because it's a leaf and you can definitely eat some kind of leaves like a salad leaf. So I would definitely say that this is a vegan kind of Pokemon. I name it Almond and head on to the next rival battle. He has the fire type Payero, and that is very bad for us later on, but now we can easily beat it with a few tail whips and then scratching away at it. I then head on and fight my first trainer, which I lost to because it had 2 Taillows, and of course my grass type is weak to them. I then head on to the next town, but the lady there told me that I had to beat up some kids first before I could get access to the gym to show how strong I really am. But first I have to capture my second team member, which is a Pineco, and yes, I looked it up. Apparently you can eat pine cones. I'm not gonna try it, but hey, the internet tells me it's possible, so we got a second team member here. We won't be evolving it into a fortress though, because I'm pretty sure a steel thing is not edible. I then go into the grass to grind up my Pineco up to level 8, and then I go to the siblings to take them on. And this is a gauntlet run where you have to beat 3 trainers in a row, so naturally, because they had types that were good against me, I lost a few times, but eventually I was able to beat all 3 of them, and then my Nimleaf evolved at level 16 into a Leaf Front. Then it was finally time for me to challenge the first gym leader of this run. And it's immediately a bug type gym leader, which my grass type is of course weak to. We also see a new fakemon here, which is Rolder, a bug and rock type. And her last Pokemon is a Shuckle, also a bug and rock type, but Shuckle is a little bit more bulky and can set up with Curse. So I did lose to that thing as well. Luckily, I do have access to growth on Almond, so eventually I could just set up and sweep her team. On the winning run, she started off with Pineco and I started off with Almond. I go for the Gust, it doesn't take her out, and she sets up some spikes. She then heals up with a potion and I take it out next turn. Next was Rolder, so I switch into Pineco and I go for the takedown, and she goes for the rock throw, doing more than half of my health. Luckily next turn she misses a rock throw and I go for the self-destruct to do maximum damage. Then she of course heals up once again and I have to hit 2 more Razor Leafs with Almond to take it out and go to her last Pokemon, Shuckle. A new move in this game is Deep Yawn, and this Shuckle of course has it. It's basically Hypnosis but with way better accuracy, so it almost never misses and puts my Pokemon to sleep. Eventually we do wake up, and I set up a few growths so that we will do more damage on this Shuckle, but we can't go for Razor Leaf because it's set up with Curse. Luckily I do have Absorb, which gives me my HP back, and eventually after spamming that I was able to come out on top and win my first gym badge. After that we exit the gym and we find Mosmero waiting for us. He's not battling you or anything, he's just doing a random prank call and telling us that it's a prank call, but I have no idea what this man is on about. He's got some screws loose. Then enter a cave where we have our first encounter with the evil team of this region, Team DH. They want to steal the secure styler for themselves so that they can try to capture some very powerful Pokemon and try to take over the region. Luckily, me and Carney can beat them up and we can safely move on with our journey. While we were leaving, we do see that he does capture a Diglett with his styler, which is cool to see, and they dig him out of there. While heading on, we see that one of the grunts is being chased by Mosmero, and he says that he wants to punish him, and he calls him George, even though his name isn't George. It's basically just a way of showing you where you have to go. Then we go to the next town and we challenge the next gym leader immediately. He specializes in ground types and his name is Joff. Even though that my grass type starter should be good against his team, I still managed to lose a bunch of times because he has a lot of coverage moves on his team like Fire Fang and Aerial Ace. So I decide to take on Carney first before I head on to the gym. Luckily his team is very trash with his Nidoran and still a first form starter, so my Pineco can take both of them out very easily. I knew that I still wasn't ready after that rival battle to take on the gym, so I went in the grass and grinded up on some Houndours and Pigeons. And after reaching level 24, I went back to the gym to try and take them on once again. Of course, not being able to do it in one go, I had to lose a few more times before I could finally get my winning run. So he starts off with a Rhyhorn and I start off with Almond. I always go for the growth and he hits me with a Fire Fang. Then I go for the Absorb to get some HP back, and next up is Duck Trio. He then goes for the Aerial Ace, bringing me down to 19 HP, but my Razor Leaf is enough to take it down because we're boosted by the growth. We level up and last up is Hitmonchen. I go for the Razor Leaf, it almost takes it out, and he hits us with a Psycho Punch, leaving us with 3 HP and confusing us. Next turn he heals up and I hit myself in my confusion to take myself out. Then I go into Pineco, my final hope, and I just kept on spamming double spin until eventually the Hitmonchan went down and I won my second gym badge. Then I went to talk to a ranger because a Duck Trio was blocking the way and he secured it and made it leave. On the next round there is a Jamboree which is definitely edible, so I caught that and named it Betty. And this is probably the most vegan Pokemon we're gonna find. We then went to the next town where there was a DH lab where they were trying to get some technology to upgrade the secure styler, but luckily we just came in time to stop their operation, and Mosmero also comes along to help us out with the other grunt. This is also my first encounter with the admin of the team, but our first encounter with him didn't go that well because he had a Houndour which wrecked me. So I grinded up the team just a little bit more and my Jamboree evolved at level 25 into a Strana. With Strana I went back to the team admin and I still got wrecked a few times by his Houndour. But the next attempt I was able to beat him up. He starts off with Houndour, so I lead off with Pineco. He goes for the Super Fang and I blow up in his face to kill the doggy. Next Pistario, so I go into Almond and I set up a growth and kill it with a Razor Leaf. After that Haunter comes out, I'm able to hit 2 Gusts, but he puts me to sleep and eventually takes me out. So then I go into Strana, I Grass Whistle at the Haunter, then I set up a growth and take it out with a Giga Drain, and last up is Skarmory. And Skarmory is 4 times resistant to grass type moves, which is my specialty. But after setting up loads of Grass Whistles and then going for growth, I was finally able to take down the Skarmory with a bunch of luck because it just couldn't snap out of that sleep, and when it hit me, I always hung on with a little bit of HP, and with a lot of Mega Drains, I took it out. We then save Larch and we can head on to the next gym, which is Water type. And then you might think Water type's easy peasy, piece of cake, lemon squeezy. Nope. This gym leader starts off with his Starmie that's level 30. I know, the level jump ups are crazy in this game. And to add to that, it has Ice Beam, which one-shots all of my team. Even Pineco gets wrecked by a new move called Aqua Bolt. So all I had to do was grind up the team until they eventually could tank an Ice Beam. And for Almond, I settled on level 34 because then it wouldn't get KO'd by a single Ice Beam a lot of the time. Almond also learned a new move, Guardian Leaf, so I'm going to be using that in this fight. Starmie starts off by hitting me with an Ice Beam. I survive and hit it with a Guardian Leaf to take it out in a single hit. Next up is Hydrush, which is also a one-shot. Then Capwondo comes out, which I think is a very cool designed Pokemon, but sadly enough it outsped and killed me with another Ice Beam. So then I went into Strana, I went for the Grass Whistle, and then Mega drained away until it eventually fainted. Last up was a Floatzel who died the same way as Capwondo with a Grass Whistle and a few Mega Drains to the face. We now have 3 gym badges in our pocket so we can head on to the next city. But not before Almond evolves into his final form, Silphid. I have no idea how you pronounce that. We then go to the scientist that we saved and he gives us the HM for Surf. After following the routes, we saw that there was an earthquake and we see that Carney is saving a Pokemon from boulders that fell on it. He decides to join his team and then we go talk to him and Mosmero shows up as well, saying that he demands a double battle together with Carney against me. But their team was pretty damn stacked with a Hound Doom and the second form of the Fire type starter. So of course I couldn't do anything but lose in this battle, so I had to teach some TMs to my Pokemon to give them more coverage. So I gave the TM for Rock Slide to Pineco so that he would learn Rock Slide, and then I gave the TM for Mud Bomb to Almond so that he would learn Mud Bomb, of course, which is great against Fire types. With that, I went back to the double battle and was able to hit a Mud Bomb and a Mega Drain on both of their Pokemon, almost taking both of them out. Sadly enough, Hound Doom went for a Flamethrower which took Betty down. So then I went for a Mud Bomb on the Hound Doom and I went for a Rock Slide with Pineco, taking them down. Next up is Inferus, which is now a Steel Fire type, so my Mud Bomb easy takes it out in one hit. Last up was Disasol, which looks like an evolution of Absol, but I am not sure. I went for the Energy Ball on it, and then it took down my Pineco. Next turn, I bring in one of my HM Pokemon, and I take down the Disasol anyway. My HM Pokemon faints, and the next turn, I'm able to take down the Rhinos to win the double battle. We get the Versus Seeker, and they tell us where we should go next. So next on our list is the DH building, which is one of the hideouts of the evil team. Clearing it out was very easy, but then eventually we reached the admin once again, Reginald. He yet again had a Hound Doom and also a Skarmory, which were very hard for my team to take down, so after losing to him once again, I decided to teach Shadow Claw to Almond, since I thought that Steel didn't resist Ghost for some reason, but it still did. Next up, I was able to then one-shot the Starmie with an Energy Ball. Next up was Hound Doom. He burned me with a Will-O-Wisp, but I set up a Growth and then killed him with a Mud Bomb. Next up was Skarmory, so I went into Betty and I Grass Whistled it immediately. I also gave it TTM for Focus Blast so that he would have a neutral attack against Skarmory. Then I set up with a bunch of Growths and kept on putting him to sleep with Grass Whistle until I eventually took him down with a Mega Drain and a Focus Blast. Then his last Pokemon Houndour came out, so I went for 3 Mega Drains to take it out and win the admin battle. Then we meet up with Jackie and the legendary Pokemon, because apparently Jackie was taken over by him and he battled us, but we easily wrecked him, and Jackie is also the one where Carney has to deliver the Secure Stylus to. So after he hands him the Secure Stylus, he tells us that he's going to work on it, and then we go to the next gym, which in this game is Normal type, with also one of the coolest designed gym leaders I have ever seen. He starts off with a Folifarig, which does look like an evolution to Girafarig. Luckily, Almond is way too strong and 2 Energy Balls take it down. Next is Grizzly, so I go for another Energy Ball, which takes it out in a single hit. Then Miltank came out, which was another one-shot, and last up was Porygon with another one-shot. Very, very easy gym battle. Then on my journey, I found an Execute, which I thought, hey, these are seeds, and you can actually eat seeds like sunflower seeds, so this should definitely be a vegan type of Pokemon. So I captured it, named it Seeds, so you guys would not say to me that they're eggs and eggs are not vegan, and I can continue moving forward. Of course, we meet up in the next town with Carney once again, and he of course wants a battle. Why can't we just have lunch or drink tea? Why does it always have to be battling? He starts off with a Miltank, which is very thick, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I start off with Seeds and I put it to sleep with a sleep powder, so then I switch into Betty and I take it down with to Focus Blast. Next up is Astage Knight, or however you pronounce that. It's a steel fire type, so I stay in, go for the Focus Blast and take it out in a single hit as well. And last up is Rhino, so I go into Almond and take it down with another energy ball to win another rival battle. We then go to the Pokemon Tower of this game, and it's once again infested by Team DH. But once we reach the top, we get taken hostage by the team admin. He then calls up Professor O'Holly and says that he has to come around here and bring the secure styler with him if he wants to see his child alive. Does this mean that the professor is our dad? We have a dad in this game? He of course comes around with the stylus to save us, but he asks, why do you even need the stylus? And here is where they explain their game plan. They were of course trying to capture Mewtwo, like every single other evil team was trying to do. They apparently even tried capturing it with a normal stylus, which didn't work. They tried to team Rocket Armor, which also couldn't let them control Mewtwo, even if they upgraded it. So their last hope was to get the secure stylus and try and capture Mewtwo that way. But there is a problem. Mewtwo has taken over an island called New Island, and he's attacked a gym leader and stole all of his gym badges, so that Mewtwo now acts as a gym leader himself. So I'm wondering if we're gonna fight him later. With the plan of the way, the professor saves us and we can finally head on once again. Before we can go to the next gym leader, I looked up their team and they have very high leveled Pokemon, and they're a flying type gym. Well, sorta. It's sorta a hybrid kind of gym. So the only thing I knew I was going to have to do before I could take them on is grind up the team to level 50. So that's exactly what I did. Why did I do that? Because Pineco is literally still useless. Anyway, time for the gym. But this was still a very hard battle. Even though we are 6 levels higher than the entire gym, we still had a bunch of trouble. The biggest amount of trouble came from the Skarmory, because it loved to set up with sword stances and then hitting me with any type of physical move, which of course my weak team couldn't really tank. And the Skarmory wasn't the only threat. She also had a Togekiss, which had Air Slash and flinched a lot of my Pokemon and basically two-shotted all of them. Another thing was a Cradily, which had a move called Grand Boulder, which does a lot of damage to Pineco and my starter. But still, with the odds against us, I was able to beat these two. I start off with Seeds and they start off with Surplant and Skarmory. I decided to go for Sleep Powder on the Surplant and Focus Blast on the Skarmory, almost taking it out. But the Skarmory did set up a Swords Dance, which is very scary, so we miss our next Focus Blast, of course. And the Skarmory hits my Seeds with a Metal Blast and I'm left with a little bit of HP, and my Execute is able to get a Psychic off on the Surplant. Next turn I can go for another Focus Blast to take out the Skarmory though, which is very good. My Seeds is also able to hit one more Psychic, and next turn he does go down to an Air Slash from Togekiss. So I switch in Pineco and we first get hit by an Ice Beam on Betty, but Pineco takes out the Surplant with a Raid, which is a bug type move in this game. Betty was also able to hit a Sleep Powder on the Togekiss, and then Cradily came out. So I went for Explosion with Pineco, thinking that Betty could survive another move, but Betty went down, so I had to switch in Almond. Pineco went for the explosion and Almond survived. Cradily also survived, but next turn Almond was able to take out the Cradily with an energy ball, so we won ourselves the next gym badge, which up until now was the hardest fight yet. We then went to the next town, finding our rival once again. He has the same team as last time, so very easy to take him down, but he now has a Ferocerus, which is a very cool design as well. Game Freak, please add these fakemon to your own games, because they're amazing. In the same town, we have to fight another gym leader, this time a ghost type gym leader. He starts off with a Jarmet, which is very annoying because he keeps on using Deep Yawn and putting me to sleep, but luckily I have growth in my arsenal, so eventually I do wake up, set up a few growth, get put back to sleep once again, wake up, and eventually take it out with a Shadow Claw. Luckily that I learned that to Almond. Next up is Hantama, and this is why I had to set up the growth, because it has Intimidate, so my Shadow Claw is now able to one-shot it as well. Necrosia then came out, which is another one-shot with Energy Ball this time though. And last but not least is Gengar, which is also a one-shot with Shadow Claw, and we now have 6 gym badges. Then we go to the local museum where we see that Dialga and Palkia are locked in the basement with Team DH. What are you guys doing here? Apparently they're trying to go back in the past to bring out some of their leaders. And they bring out Steven and Wallace for some reason. And they turn against us as well. Apparently they are the bad guys in this region or in this universe. They use Dialga and Palkia to try and beat me, but luckily my team is a little bit too strong for them. We just wrecked them with Almond and Betty's, Giga Drain and Shadow Claw very easily. And they then disappear after we win. The Team DH admin runs off because he has to give something to the team boss, so he's not actually the real boss. I then find a thick man standing on top of a mountain because apparently he's stuck there because of an avalanche. So we save him and then we head on. Scientists were blocking the way, so I gave them a meteorite and they were happy, so they left us alone. So if you ever see a scientist not happy, just give him a meteorite and he will cheer up. With that, we reach the next town and of course also a new gym leader. This one specializes in psychic types, which is an okay type for me to take down. It shouldn't be too hard. So she starts off with a Kinegagus, which is okay, a horse that's kind of on fire, kind of not. And I now have Quiver Dance in my arsenal, so yeah, this is gonna be a lot of setting up from now on. I of course go for the Grass Whistle and set up all of my Quiver Dances, which also increase my speed and special defense, so a very good move. After setting up loads of them and getting paralyzed in the process, I go for a Giga Drain, it doesn't take it out and we get hit with a Heat Wave. Then he heals up, I hit 2 more Giga Drains and the Fiery Horse is down and out. Next up is Starmie, and even though we're paralyzed, because of all the Quiver Dances we still outspeed and kill it in one go. Folifarig comes back out again, which is also a one-shot, and then Bakeko came out, which is a dark fire type, so I went for the Focus Blast, but I missed and it hit me with a Devastate, almost killing me in one shot. So I have to go for the Giga Drain here, and I got lucky that it took it out in one shot and gave me a lot of HP back. Last up was Metagross, so I went for the Focus Blast, didn't miss this time, and I took it out to win myself the 7th gym badge. Then we had to clear out the final hideout of Team DH, which wasn't really that hard, and in the end we had to find the admin once again. He still has the Hound Doom from earlier, so I go for the Mud Bomb and get a critical hit to take it out in one shot. Normally it would just do half. Next up is Starmie, so I switch in Betty and I go for the Grass Whistle and start setting up Quiver Dances, but it immediately switches into Skarmory, which I also have to put to sleep. I then of course set up a few more Quiver Dances and take down the Skarmory with a Focus Blast. Starmie then comes back out, not sleeping anymore for some reason, and my Giga Drain one-shots it. Last up is Gengar, and I try to put it to sleep with Grass Whistle, but I miss, and he puts me to sleep and takes me out with 3 Possesses, another move that is not in the main game. So I then go into Almond, and I kept on spamming Shadow Claw, but it was not enough to take it down, and he kept on healing up with Hyper Potions, using 4 of them, but then eventually he ran out and I won the battle. Now it's time for us to finally meet with the actual boss of Team DH. His name is Turner, but looking at the sprite, it might be a woman? I'm not sure. Luckily, this man or woman starts off with a Cloyster, and my Almond can take that down with a single energy ball. Next up is Nidoqueen, so I go into my Seeds, and I hit a Sleep Powder because it missed its gunshot, and I just kept spamming Psychic until the cows came home, and of course, like always, they came home, and the Psychic killed the queen of the Nidos. Next up is Magmortar, so I stay in and get killed, then I go into Almond, I hit the Mud Bomb, get a critical hit and take it out in one shot. Very lucky right there. Magnezone is last, and that thing is 4 times weak to Mud Bomb, so we take it out in one shot as well, winning ourselves the boss fight. Of course, after this, they get a call that Mewtwo is on New Island and that they have the capture Stylus. So they head to New Island and we have to follow them there so that we can take on Mewtwo first before they can capture him. So that's exactly what we do. We go up to Mewtwo and he asks us, who am I? Why was I created? I didn't ask to be created. And then he says, all the humans are bad and all the shenanigans that Mewtwo always says, and he of course wants to battle us to see if we're worthy of the gym badge. And at these levels, definitely not worthy. Two major problems on his team. One of them is Scyther. He knows Brave Bird, which one-shots my entire team, and he is also a little bit higher than most of my team, so he outspeeds as well, so we can't beat that at this moment in time. Sometimes he also sends out a Charizard, which speaks for itself. I mean, it's a Charizard, my team isn't great against fire types, so he wrecks us as well. So I guess I have to do what a vegan must do, and that is grind up my team. And with team, I mean Almond and Betty. With one of them at 68 and the other at 70, I went back to Mewtwo. He starts off with a level 63 Pikachu, which my Almond can ding down with a Mud Bomb very easily. Next up is Blastoise, so I switch in Betty and I go for the Giga Drain, almost taking it out. We get hit with a Gunk Shot, leaving us with a little bit of HP, and then we hit one more Giga Drain to take it out. Next up is Scyther, so I go into Execute because it has a Focus Sash, so he goes for Brave Bird and hurts itself. Then I go into my Almond, I hit the Aerial Ace, but the Focus Band still hits in, and then he heals him up. Luckily, I'm able to hit one more Air Slash to take it down. Next up is Charizard, and that thing knows Heat Wave, leaving me with 8 HP, but luckily we outspeed and 2 Air Slashes take down the dragon. With that, he goes into his last Pokemon, Venusaur. I hit one more Air Slash before he takes me down, so now I can go into Betty, hit the Grass Whistle, then hit a few Focus Blasts to win myself the final gym battle against Mewtwo himself. He then finally accepts and sees that I didn't ask to be created too, but I'm still following the path that has been laid before me. He now understands what he has to do and thanks us by giving us the gym badge and a TM, and he then heads off and we can go into the basement. In the basement, we find out that Team DH is trying to capture the legendary Pokemon of this region with a secure stylus. As they find out that I finally arrived, they try to capture it, but they fail because one of the grunts looked into the beast's eye and he couldn't handle it anymore. The secure stylus broke and the backup arrived. We now have Carney and Mosmero on our side, and they're going to help us to get these criminals and put them into county jail. But as they were trying to attack us, Mewtwo shows up and tells us that we should all leave it to him because he can take on the legendary beast. So while Mewtwo is fighting Nemea, Jackie shows up with the real secure stylus because apparently the one that DH had was a fake one. He goes up to Nemea and he captures it using its power to let the other ones flee. They order me to go after Team DH and they're still in the same cave, so we have to take on Turner for one last time. He basically has the same team as last time, starting off with Cloyster, which you can take down with an energy ball. Next up is Nidoqueen, so I switch in Edible and I go for the Explosion, doing just over half. Then I switch in Almond and I go for the Energy Ball to take out the Nidoqueen. I have no idea why I didn't go for Mud Bomb though. Next is Kinegagus, which is a very hard Pokemon for me to take down, so I try to go into Execute and go for the Sleep Powder, but we got taken out by a single Shadow Ball. So I then go into Betty and do my usual setup with Grass Whistle and then setting up my Quiver Dances. I tried to hit a few Focus Blasts, but they all missed, so I kept on setting up and 2 Giga Drains finally took out the Kinegagus. His last 2 Pokemon were Magmortar and Magnezone, who both went down to Focus Blast, which did not miss by the way. Very surprised with that. After the battle, we meet up with Mewtwo once again and all the rest of the squad, and they take away Team DH. They didn't tell us that I should go and challenge the Pokemon League, which is the next thing on our agenda. But before we can actually reach the Pokemon League, we have to do the Victory Road, and by the end of Victory Road, we reach Mosmero, who wants to be our final test before the Elite Four. I of course lost to him a few times because he has a pretty stacked team with a Tyranitar in there, and eventually though, I was able to beat him without that much trouble. He starts off with a Necrozia, so I lead off with Betty and I go for the Grass Whistle, and I of course have to set up all of my Quiver Dances on this thing. And then proceeding to one-shot his entire team except for Hound Doom, who did manage to tank one, but it wasn't enough. My Betty absolutely destroyed this man. After that fight, it's of course time for the Elite Four. First one is Theodore, which specializes in electric types, so shouldn't be too hard for me. He starts off with Magnezone, so I go for my usual strategy, which really isn't just a strategy, it's just basically cheesing. Grass whistling the Magnezone, setting up my quiver dances, and eventually taking it out with a Focus Blast while getting hit with a single Giga Impact. Next up is Electivire, which I take down with a Giga Drain, then it's Machu? What is this monstrosity? Anyway, Giga Drain takes it down as well. With his last two Pokemon being Bledsoon and Skimitooth, we were able to take them down with Giga Drains as well, and now we can head on to the second Elite Four member, which specializes in Poison type, so not good for us. Her name is Vanessa. She starts off with a Nidoqueen, and this thing is very hard to set up on for some reason. I had to attempt this fight at least 35 times until I eventually get the run that I needed. Another big problem was her last Pokemon, Jarmid, because that thing kept on setting up double teams, and it also had access to Deep Yawn once again, putting me to sleep, and then of course setting up his double teams very easily. So one time I got to him, I thought, okay, this is an easy win for me, and then he just started setting up with the cheese and I lost. I guess that's how people feel when I use double team? Not nice. Anyway, eventually I was able to set up on the Nidoqueen by grass whistling it and then setting up a few quiver dances. Eventually he did wake up and hit me with a wave splash, but I set up one more quiver dance as I hit it with a Giga Drain to almost take it out. It healed up, set up another quiver dance, and I took it out with another Giga Drain after that. Next up is Nidoking. That thing can't take a Giga Drain as well since we're so many boosts ahead of him. Coronacid then came out and that thing managed to survive on 2 HP and it took me down. So I went into Almond and I knew he was going to heal here, so I set up a Growth and I go for the Mud Bomb. Next turn he misses his move and the next Mud Bomb takes it out. Next up is Gengar and I go for the Air Slash, almost taking it down. Then he misses his attack, heals up, and 2 more Air Slashes finish it off. Last up is Jarmit and I hit an Energy Ball, but of course he goes for the Deep Yawn and then heals up with Slack Off. Eventually I do wake up, hit 2 more energy balls without it being able to set up more double teams, and I win the second Elite Four member fight. Then I ran into a problem because I did not have revives and you couldn't buy them at the shop. So I used the rare candy to revive my girl Strana. Since I only have a limited amount of rare candy since I didn't find a lot of them, I was then able to heal her up after that. The next Elite Four member is Irene and she specializes in the Steel type. She starts off with a Ferocious, so I lead off with Strana as always. I go for the Grass Whistle to put it to sleep and then I set up 4 Quiver Dances. I try to put it back to sleep, but it hits me with a Metal Blast because I missed my move, and then I knew I had to go for Giga Drain, which did take it out in one shot. Next is Fortress, and I knew Giga Drain wasn't going to cut it here, so I went for the Focus Blast, taking it out as well. Next up was Skarmory, so I go for another Focus Blast to take it out in one shot too. Then Lucario came out. I went for the Giga Drain, but it barely survived and hit me with a high jump kick. Then I hit another Giga Drain while she healed him up. This went on for a little bit because he wouldn't die, and then I set up another Quiver Dance to try and maybe one-shot it the next turn. He was left with a little bit of HP because of my Giga Drain, and he hit a critical high jump kick to take out Strana. Then I went into Almond and I took down the Lucario with a Mud Bomb. Next up is Vunesis, which looks like a different kind of version of the other horse we saw earlier. So I go for the Air Slash, flinching it, then the Energy Ball, he misses his move, then I get a critical hit with Air Slash to take it down. Very lucky right there, and now we have 3 Elite Four members down, 1 more to go, and then it's time for the champion. Next up is the Elite Four member Cole, and he specializes in fire types. Really? That's fire and poison in the same Elite Four? That's 2 things that I'm weak against. Great. He starts off with a Magmortar, so I start off with Betty once again and go for the Grass Whistle Quiver Dance shenanigans. Eventually Magmortar did wake up and hit me with a Confuse Ray, which was very scary for me, but I got so lucky to not hit myself once and I put him back to sleep and I set up even more Quiver Dances. Then I go for the Focus Blast and take out Magmortar after that. Next is Bakeka, who goes down to a Giga Drain. Next up is Wisplode, and I go for the Focus Blast, but I miss, but luckily he misses his Hypnosis as well, so next turn I do take him out with another one. Next up is Aztec-Knight, and I am out of Focus Blast, and it's Fire Steel, so it's definitely going to be able to tank a Giga Drain, which it does. Luckily it doesn't hit me with a Fire move, and one more Giga Drain takes it down. Next is Solarison, which is also Flying Fire, so double resists my Grass type move, so I put it to sleep, and I set up a few more Quiver Dances, then I go for the Giga Drain, but he hits a Fire Blast critical hit to take down Strana. Luckily I still have Almond, who can finish this battle off with an Air Slash. Elite 4 members done, time for the champion. The champion in this game is called Sylvia, and I don't really remember her. The thing is, she starts off with an Aerodactyl at level 77, which speed ties with Betty. So you know, every time that I don't speed tie with it, I'm basically dead because it has Brave Bird combined with Rockhead, so it takes all of my Pokemon down in a single hit. So the only thing I had to do was hit a Grass Whistle before he could hit me, then set up with my Quiver Dances, and we're good. So after about 50 attempts I was finally able to get past the Aerodactyl, but then Strana died to Nostratos, which looks like an evolved version of Dunsparce. And that thing took me down very easily because it had a move called Typhoon, which boosts his attacking stats and lowers his defensive stats. And we were not able to outspeed, so he took me down. But after that, I did 60 more attempts to finally kill the Aerodactyl and get past every one of her team. So I of course put the Aerodactyl to sleep, set up my Quiver Dances and kill it with a Giga Drain. Next up is Surplant, and since we haven't set up enough yet, I Grass Whistle it as well and set up 3 more Quiver Dances and then take it down with another Giga Drain. The next 2 Pokemon were Necrozia and Folifirig, which both were a one-shot with Giga Drain, and then his boy came back out, Nostratos. It's a Dragon Flying type, so I go for the Giga Drain, but it doesn't even do half, so I Grass Whistle it and then take it down with a Focus Blast, because that's only 2 times resisted. Next up was the Metagross, and I didn't want to risk it with the Focus Blast, so I went for the Giga Drain. He went for Metal Blast, leaving me with 10 HP, and next turn I can take him out with one more Giga Drain to win myself the battle and become champion of Pokemon Vega as a vegan. So that was an adventure. I know at the end I was using a lot of Grass Whistle and Quiver Dances, but I didn't want to over level because that just makes the challenge even worse. And with the team that I was running with, I wasn't really gonna be doing much. I also didn't evolve Execute because Executor is not edible, even though I could guess why Executor is vegan-ish. So I hope you really enjoyed this game. I personally didn't enjoy it that much. There's a lot of backtracking, so once you get to another town, you most of the time have to go back to a town you've already visited to do something that you could have done there earlier, which is very annoying, and I would like a region to be, you know, just to keep on progressing and not having to backtrack or anything. But it's definitely a good ROM hack. Check it out, link is in the description. And as always, I want to thank my Patreon and membership supporters for supporting the channel. They really do help me out, and if you want to become one yourself, you can click the links in the description. I do stream more often now, so you can use your emojis. And with that out of the way, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I'm Zwiggojr, and I'll see you guys next time.